Coronation Street shows more heartbreak for Will after the Megan scandal. Coronation Street aired more emotional pain for Will Driscoll in tonight's episode following the arrest of Megan Walsh. After Megan's disturbing grooming behavior was exposed, both she and Will have become the center of gossip around the community. Earlier this month, Sam Blakeman finally spoke out and revealed the truth about the inappropriate relationship between Megan and Will. Although Megan tried hard to dismiss the allegations, Eva Price was not convinced and wasted no time in contacting the police. As the investigation got underway, Megan continued to insist that she had done nothing wrong. However, the police later told the Driscoll family that they did not currently have enough solid evidence to support the case. Things became even more suspicious when Megan refused to take a DNA test regarding her secret pregnancy. That refusal was enough to leave even her boyfriend Daniel Osborne unable to continue standing by her. Meanwhile, in an effort to shield his teacher from blame, Will claimed that the situation had only involved a one-sided crush from him, which Megan had supposedly rejected. But his determination to protect her now appears to be isolating him from the people around him. In tonight's episode, Eva was surprised when she found her stepson hiding out in the back room of the pub and asked why he was not at school. Clearly frustrated, Will explained that since Megan's arrest, everyone had been staring at him, pointing at him, and laughing behind his back. His brother Ollie tried to encourage him, warning that hiding away would only make things more difficult in the long run. He gently told Will that even though it was painful, avoiding the outside world was not the answer. But Will quickly cut him off and responded with heavy sarcasm. He bitterly said that Ollie was right and that instead of hiding from his problems, he should simply go out and pretend everything was fine, because apparently that was what everyone expected him to do. After saying this, he stormed off in frustration. Later on, the teenager overheard customers in the Rovers joking about Will's, but he immediately assumed that they were mocking him. Convinced he was being laughed at once again, Will angrily complained that the pub felt no different from school. In his eyes, it seemed as though everyone everywhere was talking about him. The pressure of keeping up the lie may now be starting to take its toll on Will. And the question remains, could the humiliation and emotional strain eventually force him to finally tell the truth about his so-called relationship? Gary's next victim sealed in Coronation Street as he turns his attention to Theo ahead of Star's departure. The people of Coronation Street are finally beginning to recognize Theo Silverton's terrifying true nature, and that now puts the abusive thug directly in the path of the dangerously unpredictable Gary Windass. Gary is certainly not someone you want to make an enemy of. The rough-edged builder has crossed the line between troubled anti-hero and outright villain more than once over the years, most notably when he took 2 lives. Not only was Gary responsible for the factory roof collapse that killed Rana Habib, but he also manipulated situations and people in order to shift suspicion onto Carla Connor. However, the act that truly cemented his place among Weatherfield's most infamous villains was the killing of ruthless loan shark Rick Nealon in self-defense, before later taking over his criminal operation and becoming every bit as merciless himself. Although Gary has since tried to leave that darkness behind and has settled into family life with wife Maria Connor, the more dangerous side of him has never fully disappeared. That old killer instinct still lingers beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to return. Gary gives off the kind of energy that suggests he could explode over the smallest provocation every time he stomps into the Rover's return. All he really needs is for someone to threaten the people he cares about, and he will have all the justification he needs to snap. And now that trigger has arrived, and his name is Theo. For months, Theo has put his fiancée Todd Grimshaw through a horrific cycle of abuse, including emotional manipulation, financial control, and frightening bursts of violence. Recently, the vile bully even pulled a knife on Todd during a furious confrontation. Rather than back down in fear, a shattered Todd challenged Theo to end his suffering there and then. In that moment, Theo realized that his grip over Todd had weakened, and he responded by ending the relationship in an attempt to protect his bruised ego. But Theo's possessive jealousy soon returned when Todd began trying to move on with another man. Unable to cope, Theo secretly spiked Todd's drink so that he could swoop in as the so-called hero and drag him back into the same toxic relationship once again. While Theo may be a monster behind closed doors, Gary has until now seen him very differently. As far as Gary was concerned, Theo was a dependable worker and even a close mate. Taking on something of a mentor role, Gary offered Theo a job at the builder's yard and often shared drinks with him in the Rovers. The pair had even celebrated Theo's birthday together at the bistro, with Gary previously believing Theo to be a solid bloke and a good match for Todd. But all of that is about to change. Everything shifted during last night's episode, when Theo quite literally blindfolded Todd and led him into what amounted to a forced wedding, leaving him trapped into marrying his abuser out of humiliation and pressure. Meanwhile, Gary unknowingly raised a toast to the newlyweds, completely unaware of the darker reality behind the ceremony. With James Cartwright's departure already confirmed earlier this year, Theo's downfall is finally beginning. Upcoming Coronation Street scenes will see the truth about his abuse finally reach Gary, and the consequences could be deadly. The morning after the wedding, George Shuttleworth drops by to have a cup of tea with Todd and is horrified when he hears Theo hurling abuse at him through the bathroom door. It is not long before a stunned George fills Todd's loved ones in on what he has witnessed. Among those brought up to speed is Sarah Platt, who later shares her growing fears for Todd's safety with Gary. At first, Gary struggles to believe what he is hearing, but once Sarah explains the full history of Todd and Theo's relationship and points out all the warning signs of domestic abuse, the truth finally hits home for him. In that devastating moment, Gary is forced to face the reality that he has been standing by and even befriending an abuser all along. Later on, as Todd works up the courage to head back into the flat, Gary turns up and offers to go in with him. The moment Theo hears the key turning in the door, he immediately starts shouting abuse, only to be caught off guard when he realizes Gary is standing right there beside Todd. He's finally been exposed. In scenes that are sure to leave Corrie fans cheering, Gary marches up to Theo at the builder's yard, hands him his tools, and sacks him there and then. When Theo protests and claims Gary is blowing things out of proportion, Gary's dangerous old side begins to resurface. Losing his patience, the former bad boy lets his temper take over and delivers Theo a chilling warning, telling him he'd better start watching his back.